박사님의 기조 강연은 정말 인상적이었습니다. 제가 들었던 여러 강연 중에서 가장 비판적인 목소리를 많이 담으셨고, 그 다음에 아주 시적절한 내용이었다고 생각이 됩니다.
I think we need to look at the situation with an open eye. We need to criticize, to be critical, but we also need to know what are the options opening for us, what we can do, what are the possibilities. And I'll try to show that a global crisis is not only a danger, it's also an opportunity for change, because the system that has been dominating the human world for the past century at least, a mechanistic, technology-based, Newtonian physics type of a system, is now no longer functioning, and it is loosening up. More and more people are questioning it.
제가 지금 여기서 묻고 싶었던 부분은 소크라테스의 경구 너 자신을 알라를 더 확장해서 너 자신을 상호 연결된 가운데 급속하게 변화하고 있는 세계의 한 부분으로 알라, 상호 연결성을 강조하셨는데 그 상호 연결성에 대한 얘기가 벌써 나왔습니다만은 다시 한번 강조하신다면요.
Well, we have to get, as you rightly say, we have to get the leaders to create a new paradigm, to work on the basis of a new paradigm. Not separateness, not just exaggerated individuality, not exaggerated collectivism either, but to find a systemic approach where all people, all systems are both part and whole. But we are at the same time wholes, of the parts that make us up. We are both, and we must maintain ourselves as a two-phased, Janus-based system. And that is something that world leaders and people both need to understand. On the level of the world leaders, business leaders, political leaders, we are treating ourselves or individuals also as whole systems.
이러한 여러 가지 맥락 속에서 박사님이 알고 계시는 경희대가 어떤 교육이나 그 다음에 이 미래 세대가 어떤 방향으로 나아가면 좋겠다고 생각하십니까?
Yet use for reference the great insights, the great works in science and in art, in philosophy, in music, wherever. But use it as reference and otherwise pursue your own way. Understand that you are part of a miraculous, wonderful universe that works towards higher and higher level of integration and harmony, and pursue that. If you can achieve that, you'll create young people who become adults who are positive factors of life, who will be peaceful, who will be productive, who will not destroy the world around them, but will move it forward in the direction that they themselves perceive, the direction of oneness, belonging, and love. That, I think, is my advice, my hope for Kyunki University and for all universities worldwide.
인구 조절 문제를 선생님이 여러 번에 걸쳐서 말씀을 하셨는데 한 가지 제가 구체적인 요소를 가지고 한번 여쭤보고 싶어요. 그거는 birth rate, 출생률에 관한 건데요. 뭐 아시다시피 우리나라 한국을 포함해서 지금 선진국 여러 나라에서는 저출산 때문에 low birth rate 때문에 국가적으로 굉장히 고민이 깊습니다. 한국은 작년에 드디어 0.84를 기록했거든요. 이건 뭐 듣도 보도 못한 굉장히 낮은 출생률인데 저출산은 어떻게 보면 굉장히 현명한 그런 진화적인 적응 현상 아닌가요? 그런데 왜 정부는 끊임없이 이 출산율을 다시 높이기 위해서 이렇게 애를 쓸까요? 일종의 그 성장 패러독스에 그냥 빠져가지고 우리가 계속 똑같은 일을 반복하고 있는 걸까요?
Some of the best news in the world is the reduction of the total fertility rate in rich countries. And of course, almost all of our existential threats come from overconsumption based primarily in the rich countries. So if we can get the rich countries' populations shrinking, and if we can get what's needed, in my view, that is redistribution, more help and a more global view so that we look at what's happening globally and help the people in the poor countries, the best thing that can possibly happen in the rich countries is for their fertility rates to go down to the point where there's slowly shrinkage.
기후변화가 굉장히 심각한 문제이기는 하지만 기후는 어떻게 보면 서서히 오르는 거고 기후변화로 인해서 사라질 생물다양성의 문제가 생물다양성의 고갈이 어쩌면 더 직접적이고 더 위협적이고 더 빠른 시일 내에 우리를 어렵게 만들 게 아닌가 그런 생각을 전 많이 하고 그걸로 글도 쓰고 책도 쓰고 했습니다. 어떠세요?
Let's put it this way: they're both extremely serious and they're interconnected. For example, a lot of the biodiversity that we're losing is the larger elements in systems, and what then breaks loose is, say, the rodents. But the rodents are wonderful carriers of various bacteria and viruses, so they make it much more likely that we're going to have the zoonoses move into human beings. The COVID is just, it's about the third or fourth coronavirus that's given us a hard time in this century, and we're going to have more of it, and we're going to have more and more of it as the climate changes. So all these issues are part of one thing that we call the problematique or the human dilemma, and so on. The basic thing we have to do is convince the politicians that we've set the system wrong and the new abnormal can't be solved by just changing one thing.
Now, the one thing I've learned over several decades of practicing astronomy is a sense of cosmic modesty. Not only that we are not at the center of the universe, as people thought thousands of years ago, but also what we find in our backyard is not special, not privileged. We now know that about half of the sun-like stars have a planet the size of the Earth, roughly at the same separation. And if you count all the stars in the universe, you conclude that there are more habitable Earth-like planets in the observable volume of the universe than there are grains of sand on all beaches on Earth. It is possible that a technological civilization similar to ours predated us by 1 billion years or more.
사실 그 천문학자들 가운데 그 외계 생명체 존재 가능성에 대해서 의심을 가진 사람은 전 거의 없다고 봅니다. 다만 이제 이들과 교류하고 직접 만날 수 있을 가능성에 대해서는 이제 회의적인 시각이 많아 보입니다. 교수님 역시 외계 생명체의 존재 여부보다는 이들이 보여준 기술 흔적에 대해서 이제 깊은 관심을 보여왔습니다. 그 대표적인 예가 이제 오umuamua 아닐까 싶습니다. 이 성간 물체를 과학 공동체가 함께 나서 더 적극적으로 연구에 임했다면 어떤 가시적인 성과를 거둘 수 있었다고 보십니까?
Yeah, I think we would know much more. And in fact, I think that's the lesson for future objects that would look weird, unlike any comet or asteroid that we have seen before. Just imagine the Perseverance rover, which is now on the surface of Mars. It's looking for traces of primitive life on the surface of Mars. But imagine if Perseverance bumps into the wreckage of a spaceship that represents technologies that we do not possess. That would imply that our civilization is not the smartest on our cosmic block. And that would be a blow to our ego.
교수님께서는 외계 문명의 존재가 확인된다면 우리 지식 체계에 커다란 변동이 일어날 수 있을 것이라는 점을 강조하셨습니다. 다소 추상적인 질문이 될 수 있습니다만 과연 어떠한 변동이 예상될까요?
We better understand the reality that we live in, and that is always to our benefit. If we understand the virus COVID-19, then we can figure out how to design mRNA vaccine for it. If we recognize that we are changing the climate, then we can design policy that would try to moderate that change. If we understand that we are not alone in the universe and there are things out there, we could change our behavior to reflect that. And just ignoring reality is really the wrong approach.
지금 현재 이제 그 티핑 포인트 이제 위험성에 대한 이러한 부분들을 이제 계속 우리가 강조를 하고 있는데 지금 작년 그러니까 2020년도에 지금 이미 산업화 이후에 지금 1.25도까지 지금 지구 평균 기온 상승이 1.25도가 지금 상승을 한 이러한 상황이 있잖아요. 지금 1.5도가 우리가 티핑 포인트라고 했다라고 하면 이게 이제 거의 다가선 이러한 이제 상황이 되었고 이러한 상황 속에서도 우리는 과연 이 1.5도라고 하는 거를 이런 기온 상승을 우리 인류에게는 제어할 수 있는 능력이 있다라고 보시는지요?
There are many reasons why we cannot hold the 1.5 degrees line. So I think we need a more holistic approach to it. I think we should do everything according to my own analysis to keep global warming below or near 2 degrees. I think beyond 2 degrees, many things will happen which we cannot undo later, so irreversible things. But 1.5 degrees, I think we will overshoot also permanently in 20, 30 years from now. But I showed you a possibility to come back to 1.5 degrees if we would create global carbon sinks, and the construction sector would actually provide an opportunity for that. So my scenario for the future is humanity should do everything to keep global warming near 2 degrees, and then start now already measures to restore the global climate to 1.5 or even less in the decades to come.
우리 신람 박사님께서는 우리 인류에게 가장 절망적인 이런 티핑 포인트를 이제 연구를 하시는 분인데 그러한 측면에서 인류의 미래의 희망은 무엇이라고 생각을 하시는지요?
But the biggest source of hope is, as I said, our imagination. That 10 years ago, I also would not have thought that the construction sector, which is in a way the biggest problem in global warming, can be something like the savior, because it can, in the end, if done well, it can actually absorb carbon from the atmosphere. And so we keep on imagining, on visioning, on thinking, and so on. And I'm sure other very important solutions will emerge.